Hey, we're going to resume work with our timeless bronze razor. Really happy with it. It's doing really well in almost all my favorite blades. I've got a black in it. That is the Gillette 7 o'clock Super Platinum black. And this razor is fairly young. I think it is 6 or 7 uses. You can check the video description for the exact amount. The hard soap we'll be using today is Cade from L'Occitane. I think it's French. I'm sorry. L-O-C-C-A-T-I-A-N-E or something like that. And it's in this silver tin. It's been likely shredded and then pressed. And that's what you can do with a hard soap if you want to put it in a certain size container. And if you can see the water, it has been soaking for several minutes. And the brush we're going to use today, I'm going to get it ready. This is the 2000 from Semogue. I'm going to shake most of the water out. Then I'm going to pour the bloom water into my lather bowl. And we'll just use that as the water to build up the lather, which is cool because you're not wasting any soap. All right, so now we've kind of got the soap there. You can see by the texture how it was pressed in with shreds. Okay, so since this has been soaking, this is the first time I've used this puck. I've used the Cade Rich Cream and really love that scent. Don't know what to expect from this guy. I like hard soaps in general. Online, I think they said that this one was a little hard to get a good lather out of. So let's see what happens. I'll do the standard 30 seconds since I allowed this to soak for several minutes. All right. And 15 on the clock is rolling around right there. So we will for 30 seconds. Immediately we kind of get a very airy, frothy lather kind of come up. 10 more seconds. Just moderate pressure. Splay the hairs just a little. And 1 more second, and there we go. Okay, now I have no idea if that's going to be enough. You know, let's just play it safe. Let's do 15 more seconds. 55 is right there. So then we'll go to 10 seconds after. Just because this is an unknown, I don't mind lathering it a bit more than usual. All right, there we go. Oh yeah, I like that scent. Now see, there's the bubbly airiness. Let's just let all that go down the drain because we want the stuff that's sticking to the brush. All right, I'm going to pause you while I rinse this soap. I have already splashed some water on my face, and so we will move on to the lather building. Now there's lots of water in here. I don't know if it's too much water. Maybe I should have been a little conservative and only put half the bloom water in here, but let's just see what happens. I tried to only cover the soap by 3 millimeters or something like that. Not very much, but it's a wide container and I might end up regretting that. Yeah, the scent is not strong right now. This is a brush that's really comfortable. Nice tips. Many of them have split. This is just maybe his 5th use. Today I did soak him for a little bit, though not as long as usual, with this Boarathon that I'm doing where I'm working through about 7 different brushes. I am soaking them for 1 to 3 hours because since I am only getting a chance like once a week to use a brush, I wanted to employ some kind of break-in mechanism. Nothing super extreme like soaking it for 3 days in cold water in the fridge. That is the practice of some. And that may be a very good way to do it. I'm not going to judge that. To be able to judge it, you kind of have to play around with it quite a bit and know how it's like just using the brush versus a shortcut method, and I just don't have that experience. Now this lather's looking really good. Thought it was too much water, but take a look at this. Now it's still airy. I'm gonna keep mixing it. It's still kind of bubbly looking, tiny bubbles, but it doesn't look like I added too much water. So hopefully by continuing to mix, we can work these bubbles out. And so I'm working through these boars, and it's going to take a good many uses since I'm doing so many at once, and they're all going to proceed quite slowly since they're going to be used kind of at the most once a week. So I decided to use a break-in of just a water soak, cold water, just whatever comes out of the cold water tap. About an hour, sometimes 3, sometimes 8 if I happen to make some kind of mistake like I did the other day. Today, this soak was only about 15 minutes. Maybe it makes up for the counterbalance is the last use of this guy, where I thought I was going to shave during the night, and then I just was so tired that I didn't. And this lather is looking better and better, and there's tons of it. So obviously I'm going to guess that I did not have to do that extra 15 seconds, but sometimes better safe than sorry, and one shave's worth of soap is really fairly cheap. Make a note of it, so next time I use it I'll be wiser. I mean, look at this huge, it's like the size of the bowl. Now, so what we're going to do is a little finger test. It's kind of thin. It is slippery. I can definitely feel the ridges on my fingerprints. So who knows, I might have exceeded the water by just a hair. One little trick to help with that is just apply the lather to a dry face, or a fairly dry face, to let some of that water absorb into your skin, and then it takes it away from the lather. All right, why don't we try it? Let's see how it looks in terms of the, yeah, it looks kind of dryish. Oh, there's a hair. Let's grab that. This may be one of those high structure lathers. It's possible this soap likes to be built up, moisturized slowly, instead of just starting in on the big amount of water that was already in here. So that's another data point we can think about. So let's just see what happens on my face. All right. So to start off with, I want to apply just a normal amount of water, as usual, to my face before the lather. Just re-wetting it, but then making sure I don't have any standing droplets. And then we'll see what happens. Big old boatload of lather. Not too much elasticity. Let's just see what happens. Try to spread it around. Maybe I can keep the blobs from falling. Well, feels good on the face. Brush feels great. nice scent to it. It's light, but it's there. Alright, feels good. Pretty easy to spread a nice layer around with this brush. Let's just see what happens. I am going to be cutting off about a day and a half worth of growth. I don't like it when I miss. Ooh, that's a smooth cutter. So this 7 o'clock black looks like it's going to be a really nice match with this razor. Very good feel here. Just kind of very smooth. Not quite knife through butter kind of smooth, but pretty close. Definitely does not feel like I'm dealing with a excessive amount of growth, like an above average amount of growth. So big success to the lather. Looks like it's not too dry after all. It is fairly dry. There's not a lot of residual slickness here, which is fine. It just means that you have to make sure that you reapply lather before you go over an area. Very happy with that. Good cuts. Okay, I'm going to pause you while I rinse. All right, now there was not any creaminess as I rinsed away right there. And so I left a little bit extra water on my face because you know what? This could be kind of a high structure lather that actually feels thin, and it's because it needs more water. So let's just see what happens. There's that good Cade scent that I like. This is a big splay brush. I don't have a lot of room to move around in my little tract of land because of my goatee, and this brush kind of covers the whole thing in one swipe. Like that kind of almost bitter cologne type scent from the musky, sharp kind of like a subdued wood type scent. Really like it. So let's see what happens now. I think the lather's a little better than the first pass of lather because of the extra water. All right. So next time I will, even though I'm happy with this lather, I mean it's working nicely, I like to try to find that edge of creaminess. I'm getting very little sensation of cutting, kind of indicating that the cutting's already been taken care of on that first pass. So this especially might turn into a very, very good combination with this blade and a razor. Now, just because it works for me does not guarantee that it'll work for you. Because our skin and hair type and all that could just be different enough to cause the shave to be different. excellent, effortless, smooth shave here. This residual slickness still is not really there, so definitely have to reapply lather. But see, I put the lather down and I get really nice glide. So I may be interested in doing this soap again, maybe just not quite as much water to get that kind of a little closer to that creaminess factor. Maybe apply the water slowly, see if that was part of the problem. And I'm going to rinse, so I'll pause you. All right, so let's go ahead and put on the third pass. I have got so much lather in here. It's possible that the 45-second load would have been a right amount if I had not soaked the puck, but I did. And so I've just got so much. Now I know. So maybe those guys online who said they had a hard time getting a good lather from Cade. And this, mind you, this is the hard soap. Cade is also very much known for its cream, which is easier to lather, but to be honest, I find this really easy too. Feels great on my face. Smells good. I wish it were stronger. Not a surprise there. It's kind of my pattern. Maybe I'd say 4 out of 10 in terms of scent strength. It's lightly available during the shave. All right, third pass. Probably not really even needed. Just kind of holding the razor as usual with a light grip, allowing the razor to flex. And that way, if I hit a bump too hard or at the wrong angle, then the razor will give and move instead of digging into my skin. Do my little cross grain up this area because that is a trouble spot that I've kind of learned how to deal with. And most good blades will give me a very nice cut nowadays that I've started to use that technique. All right, zero irritation. I do see some red, so for some reason I just get a red spot right here. It didn't feel anything. I've mentioned it several times. It doesn't feel irritated. It's just a little red discolor. And let me do a rinse. Yeah, that's a tremendous cut. Really happy with the closeness. Just dots are visible here, and I did not go against the grain on my neck, really anywhere. And so I'm really happy with the cut on my cheeks, of course. They usually get done pretty well. My trouble spot right there, because of that stroke coming up this way, it's across the grain stroke with a very slight against the grain aspect to it. And I think the hairs right there really tend to lay down. And for some reason, I get a little bit of a against the grain note to it, and that puts them in their place. Chops their little heads off. All right, feeling good. I don't feel any dryness or anything like that. And man, I have a ton. So I would say a 20-second lather, if you soak the puck, might be sufficient. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 passes left here in the bowl. Just tons and tons. So I soaked the puck just a few minutes prior to the shave, and lathering was effortless. So I guess maybe the guys who are doing it before just weren't doing that. I would guess you might have to lather it for longer if you didn't soak it. Who knows, maybe a minute, maybe 45 seconds. It might be a good place to start if you are one of those who is very dedicated in not blooming or soaking your soaps ahead of time. And as a reminder for you new guys, this is actually a hard soap. Like if I press my finger in it, it won't make a dent. Okay, if you have a soap that is malleable in just about any way. You press with your finger and you get a dent, or even softer, then it's probably best if you do not bloom the puck, meaning sprinkle some water on it, or worse yet, soak the puck, put more water on it prior to the shave. It's just not necessary, and in some cases it actually messes with the soap's internal structure. One of the makers has let us know about that, Barrister and Mann. I believe it was Will who said that. So you don't need to bloom. There's one very popular YouTube shaver who does bloom his soft, semi-soft soaps, and it's just not a good idea. All right, I'm going to pause you while I clean up. To be honest, I don't really need to pre-soak this guy for as long anymore because he's so comfortable already. Big, nice splay, got enough backbone to stir up from a hard soap without a problem. One little note though, these decals here, it's already starting to kind of get a little corner on it, and I can feel it with my fingers. So I bet at some point it's going to come off. To me, it doesn't matter too much, but just to let you know. The loft is long on this. This is one of the longer lofts of the Semogue family, more like the Semogue Owners Club, I would guess, than the other ones that I have, like the 1250, the 1305, the 1800. But it's just a wonderfully comfortable brush. I would probably say this is already broken in, and it's just maybe 5 uses old. And now, granted, I did soak it ahead of, for a couple hours, and one time I soaked it for 8 hours, but that's all it took, and now it's great. A friend of mine online has another model Semogue that is 60 uses in, and it is still not very broken in, and he says it's his toughest one. Now I have that same model, and it took me only half a dozen uses, so you may experience some variation. But I've got this Semogue and 3 others in this series, and they've all gotten comfortable very quickly. So there we go. And notice I do have a black O-ring right there to kind of help rein in the splay. Maybe I might add another one because, you saw it. It's very big on my face. I may add another one and really kind of enjoy it from there. But he's just doing great. Really happy with him. And I did kind of get used to the handle. The first couple of times I found my hand, especially as soap got on the handle, I found my fingers kind of moving forward slightly. And with them pressing on this ridge, it's not as comfy, as if they're not. But I've kind of gotten used to it. Maybe I shuffle with my fingers back, or I rinse the handle off to get a better grip. And so I've compensated without even really knowing about it. And so that's not a problem for me at all. And a little Boar fact, really any natural bristle brush, if you're traveling with one, try to let it air out as much as you can. And if you, one of the things I like to do, I have a tube that I keep it in. And so since if I'm traveling the next day after a night shave, then I will wad up some toilet paper and put it at one end of the tube so that will start to absorb some of the moisture. And then definitely once you get home, whip it out, sit it on the counter so it can really dry. Or if you get to your destination, pull it out, set it on the counter, and that way it can sit out for a few hours until it waits for the next shave. So be very conscious about the moisture that's in your brush. You don't want any mold or anything like that to develop. So I continue to be really impressed and happy with this razor. I like the bulky, I've grown to enjoy the bulky, clunky look of it. It's just a block, and it's bronze. And I didn't really like the handle look at first, but it's grown on me, and this little waistband in the middle is probably right where you'll see my fingers go as I'm using it, and it works really well. So I continue to be really happy with this guy. And like I said during the shave, this Gillette 7 o'clock Super Platinum, for my skin at least and hair type, excellent match with this razor. All right, all done with the shave. Really happy with it. I've now cleaned up and spent several minutes doing that. No dryness to the face or anything, so I do have oily skin, but I think for your average guy, you probably walk away from a shave with this soap without worrying about a post-shave balm if you didn't want to. And I'll probably do an alcohol splash up in the other room, and don't have it here with me, but that's what I'll do afterwards. If there's any weird feelings or anything like that from the splash, I'll put it in the video notes, but I don't expect any. I think I've got a nice Dr. John's classic splash that I'd like to bring in with this guy. So excellent shave, really enjoyed it. This brush is a wonderful little piece of comfort, and the sharp blade, this 7 o'clock black, just does really well with several different razors for me, and this is one of them. And so it's really enjoyable to put a mild razor with a fairly sharp blade. For me, that equals usually a really nice shave. All right, so I hope there was something here for you. Maybe you're thinking about a timeless bronze. It's somewhat new. There's a lot of them floating around out there, and I think it's a worthy shaver. And I would not have a problem at all with this being a desert island razor where everything else got just destroyed, and that's what I happen to have. Even this soap, I would enjoy having this soap. It's very serviceable. While it's not that next level slickness like some of the new guys out now, or even something like Williams, which is just booger slick, it's still very enjoyable scent and performing soap. And I bet it gets even better at this with maybe a slight tweak in the water, or how quickly I add the water. Maybe come at this soap with more of a dry brush method, who knows. So there we go. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care, and good night.